When the autumn frost of September 1780 blanketed the woodlands of the Hudson Valley, the air hung heavy with the unsettling scent of decaying vegetation. Inside the fortress-enclosed residence at West Point, an officer with a slight limp and a stark, commanding countenance sat hunched over a flickering oil lamp. He was not drafting a defense, he was negotiating the sale of this impregnable bastion to the enemy. His eyes held no remorse, only a dead-ash calm, the residue of a soul repeatedly seared by resentment and avarice. He was Benedict Arnold, once the most celebrated hero in all of America, now the most venomous serpent in the land. This is a chronicle of how honor distorts into malice, and how valor devolves into a bargaining chip. Adjust your breathing, follow the phantom river breeze, and return to the North American continent, a world then consumed by smoke, greed, and betrayal. Arnold's lust for power was born of an extreme self-esteem, forged during his early years as a merchant in a ruthless market. In the wild frontier of Connecticut, a paradise for adventurers, young Arnold managed vast enterprises and grew accustomed to measuring all human value in coin. When the drums of the Revolution sounded, he felt not the warmth of patriotic fervor, but the ecstasy of finding a grander stage for his ambitions. Leading a daring commando raid on Fort Ticonderoga, he felt not the quiet satisfaction of duty, but a feverish shiver as power surged through his fingertips. He understood that in this nascent nation, military merit was the hardest currency. Yet, deep within his soul, he planted a seed named injustice, a pathological sensitivity and paranoia toward peers whose promotions outpaced his own. If his early bravery was a quest for fame, then at the Battle of Saratoga, Arnold performed heroism to its chilling absolute. On that blood-red twilight of 1777, defying orders, he charged into the enemy lines alone until a bullet shattered his left leg. He was the savior of America, yet the very lead that crushed his bone also pulverized his remaining patience for the new republic. While lying bedridden, watching political generals secure medals while he languished in neglect, a slow-burning rage began to ferment in his very marrow. In this state of profound isolation and grievance, he met the beautiful Peggy Shippen. Within the hushed confines of their manor, Arnold sat in the shadows and forced himself to accept a dark logic. If a hero is destined to end in poverty and obscurity, then why not sell such talent for a king's ransom? The scales of power often tip irrevocably upon a single rejection. Using his post as the military governor of Philadelphia to amass a fortune through illicit means, Arnold was eventually summoned to court. The resulting public reprimand became the final straw for his fragile honor. He began corresponding in secret with British Major John André, referring to his former brothers-in-arms as that mob. In 1780, as his liaison André was captured, Arnold's grand design began to crumble. Merely an hour before General Washington's arrival at West Point, Arnold maintained a stiff, glacial elegance. After a brief kiss to his wife, he mounted his horse and fled toward a British warship. This coldness was his ultimate vengeance for a wounded ego. He knew that once he crossed that river, he would never again have a fatherland. The final chapter of Arnold's life unfolded in a cold, mocking London apartment. Betrayal did not grant him the exalted status he had envisioned. The British gentry loathed a turncoat in their very marrow. By then, Arnold had grown skeletal, and the predatory sharpness of his gaze began to consume him from within. Every dawn, clinging to the habits of the Continental Army, he would don his faded, threadbare blue uniform and perform drill movements in empty streets devoid of soldiers. On a rainy night in 1801, Arnold drew his last breath upon a dust-covered bed. His final whispered words were, "Let me die in this old blue coat in which I fought my battles. May God forgive me for ever having put on another." He died with his fingers deathly tight around a rusted medal. Even today, 2 centuries later, the name of Arnold remains the definitive synonym for treason in American history. At Saratoga, there stands a peculiar monument, a lone, amputated left leg carved in stone, bearing no name. It is history's most precise judgment. It remembers his valor but refuses to acknowledge his existence. He serves as a reminder that when a man places personal pride above the collective cause, that is the moment a hero becomes mere bone. He maintained absolute shamelessness within his absolute talent. Arnold's brand of betrayal, hidden beneath a heroic shell, continues to lurk in the dark corners of every era's temptations. His life was an ugly, magnificent pilgrimage, seeking a distorted climax of power within the hollow shell of compensatory vanity. The saga of Benedict Arnold draws to a close amidst the receding waves of the Hudson. He was never a weakling bereft of courage. He was simply a brilliant soul who steadfastly refused to choose nobility. He teaches us that a fundamental sincerity is the only true passport when finally facing the judgment of history. Perhaps you, too, are navigating anxieties, encircled by temptation or feeling unappreciated for your sacrifices. But believe this, in every life, there exists a fortress of honor, one you can choose to defend or choose to sell. May the cautionary shadow of Arnold become the strongest bastion of your heart, guiding you toward the most serene and liberated shores of the self. Good night, and may sweet dreams attend you, far from betrayal.